about knives. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and my views and opinions on knives. And yours may not be the same as mine, and that's okay. And you may not carry the same knife I do, and that's okay. And you may not like what I carry, and that's okay too. So, my opinion on knives is normally, we're going to talk about what I carry. I normally carry two knives on me, and I'm going to give you the reason. And then, if I am out survival, bushcraft, or whatever practicing, hopefully practicing, never real life thing. I hope I never have to deal with that in a real life situation. And I hope that my ideas may give you some help. Hello to everybody out there. I have the chat turned on now, and this is my third video that I have made here recently in the last couple of years. So I think that's the last time I'm going to mention that I haven't made in the last couple of years. I'm going to start doing some new videos, and I am using my phone to do these videos, so you may be experiencing this thing going on. So the two knives that I always carry on me every day. Every day. I'm going to lean forward here. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to scare you. First of all, is the reason I carry these knives, the reason I have these knives is because they were purchased for me. And they not only have given to me by people that I respect and I love, but also they're things that I use every day. First of all, is this razor knife. And this is an Olight, is the name brand of it. And it is a razor knife that I can change the razor by, hopefully you can see this, unscrewing this little screw, and the razor comes out and I can flip it around. There is no extra razor in this knife. It does not have a compartment to carry extra razors. I have extra razors in a bag. I have a man purse every day when I go to work. I have a work bag that I carry, and then if I'm out running around public, I have a different bag I carry. I'm a bag guy. I like different bags with stuff in it that I have. So in my pocket on my left side, I normally carry this knife here that opens and closes by pulling this lever back. It is a very nice knife. It's about 20, 25 bucks, I believe, on Amazon. My wife got this for me. I wanted a razor knife for work. What do I do work-wise? Well, I'm actually retired. And what I normally do is I go over and hang out at a garage, and we may need to open packages, open boxes, cut hoses, cut wires, things like that. And this razor knife works pretty darn well for all those things. There are other points where we're going to use and abuse a knife, and I don't want to break the razor because the razor's really thin and sharp for cutting. So the other knife I carry is really simple and really, really inexpensive. And that is, hello to everybody out there. I carry this Walmart. It's like 10 bucks, 10, 12 bucks, something like that from Walmart. Ozark Trails. It is just a simple knife, and I beat it up, chew it up. If I break the blade, I'm not worried about it because it is an inexpensive knife. These are the ones that I carry most of the time when I am at, quote, work, okay? $1,000 knife, got them. Do I carry them? No. They sit on the shelves. They look pretty. I have number two. If you know me from years and years ago with aroundthecabin.com, which is no longer up, one of my favorite knives is my friend Chris Kane from Europe. I have number two of the knife that he had made at Battle Horse Knives. And that was given to me by our good friend Kip, aka Foosball Patriot, who was my partner with Around the Cabin. And hopefully Kip and I have talked. He's talking about coming back on now while I'm going to start doing new videos, and I will be getting back to the computer stuff. Right now I'm doing this all off the phone because the computer needs to be updated and other things need to be done. I probably need to buy a computer, and I don't have like $5,000 right now just to throw at a computer like I did before. So these are the two knives that I carry on me 90% of the time. Now, knives that I like that I have right here next to my bed. I have this cheap $25 knockoff of an SE knife. And yes, I do have quite a few other SE knives, but this is a cheap $25 knockoff because I wanted a straight blade knife, think of a paring knife on steroids. That's what this is. It's a paring knife on steroids. So I have used this in the kitchen. I wear this around the house sometimes. I do this with different things that I cut up vegetables, open a package, do other stuff with. I love this knife. This knife is only 25 bucks. It's not expensive. It's a cheap knockoff from Amazon. And it's not the greatest knife in the world, but it works. Now let's remember what Willie Wells. Now there's this gentleman from Louisiana who was involved with shows with me on Around the Cabin, and I think he's one of the most intelligent men. He is ex-military. I'm not going to go into all the things that he did with us, but he had two sayings with knives, and you cannot argue these sayings. One, the knife you have on you at the moment of survival becomes your survival knife. Doesn't matter if it's a $2 knife, doesn't matter if it's a $1,000 knife. The knife you have on you, when you become a survival situation, becomes your survival knife. That's real simple. The other one is any knife that you have on you beats using your finger. Well, by golly, you can't argue with that. Let's look at the chat down here. Minecraft ZZZ, how's it going? Love to see you there. Let's see, some other people are talking on here. Minecraft's making a lot of comments. Let's see. It's hard for me to read because I'm too far away. I guess I better get closer. Halabush, AB Halabush, 7511. Hello to you. Hello. A great day to see you. I hope everybody is doing well out there, as I always do. Now, let's see. Laplander, Finland. Wonderful knife. Hi from over in Finland. Thank you for that. Finnish knives are pieces of, to me, a Finnish knife is like a piece of art. I really like the Finnish knives that they have over there in Finland. And another one is the French. They're very, very simple, and I have quite a few of them. I'm getting ready to order another one. I would like to get another Opinel number 10 with the bottle opener and the corkscrew on it, just for me to have to go out to occasional parties, so that I have a corkscrew and I have a bottle opener on me and I have a knife. Now, it's a little large. I wish they made it in like a number 8 or a number 9 so people don't get scared when you throw it out. But Opinel knives are just absolutely wonderful, efficient, great knives. And the grind, the sharpness, the portability of that knife. And now you can get, I think, number 8s and number 9s from Opinels with clips so you can carry them. Now, they won't be the Lord's carry, as my friend Knives, I guess, says, which is the Lord's carry is tip up. Okay, which this one has. It's a tip up. That's the Lord's carry. Well, I do like knives that are tip up when you carry them. So when you pull them out this way and you open them. Okay, you don't have to flip the knife over. If it was this way, I would have to flip the knife over to open the knife. So I do like tip up. I do believe that is the Lord's carry, as he says. Wonderful guy. If you have not watched Knives, I guess, please go see his videos on YouTube. One of my favorite knives that I have, and I actually have two different ones. Well, they're actually, I didn't grab the other one. The other one is an Old Hickory, which was a great knife. They are no longer made. The company went defunct. But if you can get an Old Hickory knife, I suggest you get one. It is in this kind of shape, like an old kitchen knife. This is not an Old Hickory. This actually has some paint in it and other stuff. I got it from I think I paid $3 or $5 for it years ago, and I got it in an antique place. And the guys over at Battle Horse Knives cleaned it up for me, and I told them, leave some of that paint in those stamping marks. This is a stamp, the way they used to do them. So this knife has no identifying marks on it, either under the handle or not, because they took the handle off for me. They redid everything, restained it, made it nice, cleaned it all up. And I wanted some roughness left on that knife. I didn't want the knife to be polished pretty clean. I wanted still, so this part down here where the blade is was done up, and I have a nice patina on there now. But this part, I had them just get most of the paint off of it. And that's what they did for me, because I wanted to remember where it came from. And this thing is an old butcher knife, pretty much like what the old mountain men or the old long hunters or other people carried. Most of their knives were simple butcher knives. They weren't made to be out there at that time in the mountain man era to do stuff. Now, the Civil War, they had more different knives coming out. They had the Bowies and all that kind of stuff that came out there. But a lot of them guys back in the time just carried old butcher knives or French trade knives or things like that. And I think I have a French trade knife down here. Let me look real quick. No, I may have put it away. I don't see it right off the bat. But I have some French trade knives that were done up by Ron White years ago. And Ron does not own the company anymore. My friend Dave does. And so I have a couple of collector's items from Ron. Now, as survival knives, I'm in Kentucky. Let's talk about survival knives. I'm in Kentucky, and I just got this one a couple of months ago. The wife picked it up for me. This is another one. I have an older one that I beat up pretty good. This is an SE6. Now, I like the SE6 more than I do the SE5 because the SE5 is a sharpened pry bar, and it will pry. It is a lot thicker than this. The only thing, the modifications I make on these SEs is right here, and you can see that as I knock some of the coating off so I can run a ferro rod on there and strike that ferro rod, and it's not on the coating lets it spark. So that's why I took the coating off that. But I like the color, the Desert Coyote color. Shears are not my greatest thing on an SE, but it works, so I don't really care. And a knife this big, I don't normally wear this. This goes in a pack. So I am more of a small knife guy that I like the SE3s, the SE4s, things like that to carry on my hip. I just grabbed this one to show. The other thing I do not carry is an axe. And people are going to go, he doesn't carry an axe. I carry a saw and I carry a parang. Now, the parang of my choice, and I know Joe Flowers, and he's a wonderful person, this is the Mini Dooku parang machete sold by Condor Knives. This does everything that I wanted to do here in Kentucky and Tennessee, Virginia, and other places that I go to. Why? Well, I'm 60 years old. I'll be 60 in February, actually, this year. Next month, I'll be 60. And I'm, with my physical abilities, swinging an axe is a no-no at this point in time. So chopping down small trees with this is a breeze. Delimbing and doing other stuff with this parang, once you learn how to use a parang, is no problem whatsoever. Yes, it will strike a ferro rod. Yes, I can use it with chert and flint and other things because the back is not coated, and it does a wonderful job. Yes, I can use it for food preps. I can choke up on it and use it for finer things if I want to, but I have a smaller knife that I normally carry, so I don't have that problem. This works on everything I need it to work on: cutting, splitting, doing other stuff. I can split with this. I can put it on there and hit it with a baton and split with it, and I don't have to worry about this blade. It does everything I need to do. It's got some marks on it. I don't know if it shows up too well in the video, but it does have some marks and wear and tear because I have used it quite a bit, and I love this thing. It does all kinds of great stuff. And sometimes I go out in the yard and just chop down. I have a tree, actually I have a couple of trees out in the yard, and they have shoots that keep coming off of them because one's a mulberry and one's a black locust. And I hate that tree. Black locusts are terrible because they are so prolific at reproducing. So, knives. Let's talk about some knives here and things that I get into and things that I like, things that you may like, and I'd like to hear your opinion on those knives. Do you prefer a folding knife or do you prefer a straight knife? Does it matter at the time? You know, all day long, I could carry the straight knife and do everything with this knife that I can do with this knife. But which fits in my pocket just a little bit better? It's no real big price, $10, $20, $25, whatever. You know, who cares? It's not going to win any beauty contest. And as far as knives go, I mean, I've owned those $2 plastic handle knives you get at the flea market that are chisel ground, side sharp, and they work. They work for opening boxes. They work for cutting or radiator hoses. They work for other stuff. I just haven't been there and got it, but I can order this on Walmart and have it sent to the house. I can order this on Amazon and have it sent to the house. Just depends on really the strength of the knife. If I want it stronger, I would get a knife that doesn't fold, a straight knife. If I don't care about the strength and I'm only using it for cuttability, there's nothing wrong with using this. Now, some of my friends, I'm going to get in trouble for this. If you guys watch the video, some of my friends, and I love you, all you knife makers, all you knife manufacturers, all you knife designers, everybody that I know, I'm going to say this and don't get mad at me. You, the general public, do not buy a knife because it has somebody's name on it unless you're making it a collector's item. Just because it has somebody's name on it does not make it a great knife. Okay? First off, and my buddy Jim Cobb and I were at an expo, I think it was in Kentucky. Yes, it was. It was in Kentucky. Dave Canterbury was there, our buddy Dave, and we talked to Dave. Dave gave Jim, I'm letting this out of the bag. This has never been told to anybody ever before in all these years. So Dave Canterbury gave Jim Cobb a knife to try out. Jim handed a knife to me. As soon as he handed the knife to me, I went, I don't like it. He says, you didn't even look at it. I said, I don't like it. He said, what don't you like? I said, I don't like the handle. That's it. To me, that's number one. If I don't like the way it felt, yeah, because I'm a hillbilly here from Kentucky. I don't like the way it felt in my hand. It was too blockish. It was very blockish. It was like grabbing a block. It was squarish. It was even more squarish than this. And this has a taper and other stuff to it. And the edges are rounded over. This knife that Jim handed me was a block. And I said, I don't like it. Now, the blade was great. The blade was wonderful. The heat treat, the blade, everything looked good on it. Everything felt right. It felt good in the hand, as in like balance-wise. But the handle was too square and too blocky. Hello to everybody out there. Hello. I see you typing in the room. Who is it? Dave? Hello, Dave. I did not like the handle. And if I don't like the handle, I'm not going to use the knife. So when it comes to ordering stuff online, and yes, I ordered this online, but I watched all the reviews on YouTube. I actually talked to Joe Flowers, because he's a friend of mine. I talked to Joe, and I wanted a knife that I could do certain things with. And Joe said, don't get that knife, get this knife. He said, I think you're going to like it a whole lot better. And I said, okay. So Joe's like, which knife do you want? Because I got a garage full. I'll just send you one. And I'm like, no, Joe, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it from Condor. So I bought it from Condor so I could do my own review, my own test. And I did a review years ago on this. It's probably not listed anymore from around the cabin. But I really like, one, I like the handle. It fits my hands. Now, I have what are called baker's hands. I have really big palms with short fingers. So it's almost like a large glove with a medium finger. So I would buy medium gloves, and then I have problems because my fingers fit, but my hand's too wide. And I usually split the glove out and have to re-sew it on the side. But if I buy a large glove, it's too big for my fingers. And if I buy a medium glove, it's really kind of too small for my... So I buy a lot of wool gloves that are mediums and things like that because they stretch. But if I get a leather glove, I have a really hard time getting a leather glove that fits my hand. It's got to have some give to it. Who is that? William. Hello, William. I see you typing in the chat room. Jack is a Jack Hoss is a band. Okay, I don't know who Jack Hoss is, but okay, cool band. I'll have to look them up later. If you don't like the handle, you're not going to like it. It has to feel and flow. It has to not be too blade heavy. I really like the SE6. To me, this blade flows. Okay, it feels good in the hand. I like the old SEs that were just square, and I have a couple of Rat 3s, and they're okay, but this new handle design from SE beats the old rat handle design all the heck and back. You get that straight SE handle. With this that comes on the new SEs where you can get these different colors and you can get the shape, it feels great in the hand. And it fits my big wide palms. If you guys have large hands, it fits big wide palms, but like I said, I have short fingers. But the hand part fits really good. I really like the feel of this knife. I like the weight of this knife. I like these are things that you're going to look at that you're going to get. And if you order it online, you're not going to know because you're not going to be able to put it in your hand. So you're going to have to either order it, try it out, send it back, order it, feel it, or trust other people's judgment on these knives of what you like. And you get a chance to go to like Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and on no way am I involved with Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They do not pay me or anything else. I have been there once with our friend Foosball Patriot, aka Kip, back when we were doing around the cabin stuff. We went down Tennessee, and we made a side trip to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and I got to see all the guys' knives and everybody's stuff they had down there, and I thought it was great and wonderful. And we got to lay our hands on some beautiful knives, some wonderful knives, and it's worth the trip to go see that. But if you can get to any place, a knife shop that sells, they have one here. Newport, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, Newport, Kentucky, had a knife shop. It's gone now. It's a shame. But you used to be able to go in and get your hands on the knives and feel the knives. Malls back in the day, malls, you go to a mall, they used to have knife shops. You go in and get your hands on a knife and feel the knife, feel the handle. Sometimes you guys will see packaging material, and the packaging material and it's just the handle will be sticking out. So that way you can get a hand and feel the handle. And you might want to ask some of the people at the counter, do you have one of those unwrapped? Because I want to see what it feels like. Sometimes they have one, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll open a package, sometimes they won't. These are different things you need to think about. Getting the handle, getting the blade. Steels. You know, I'm not into the super steels. I like a knife, really, now this is going to sound really strange to some of you. I like a knife that I can sharpen with a river rock. I have a lot of creeks and rivers. I'm right here by the Licking River. I'm close to the Ohio River. I have a lot of creeks and other stuff around me. Kentucky's known for a lot of its water and stuff that goes through there, all the different things we have. If I can pick up a river rock and sharpen a knife, that's good. And with the steel that comes with a lot of these blades that I like, the high carbon steel, I'm comfortable with that. I like that. I also like to use V-rods to sharpen my stuff. Some things are convex, and that's okay. You can usually sharpen convex with really, really fine emery cloth or sandpaper and a mouse pad, and you drag it across, sharpen that convex back and forth. V-rods work for a lot of different knives, not for convex, but they work for a lot of different knives. That's the two porcelain rods that are like this, and a piece of wood. There are many different sharpening tools and methods out there. Yes, I have stones. Yes, I have water stones and other stuff to sharpen knives, depending on what I'm doing and what grinds they have and whatnot. I really like, and sometimes I have reprofiled knives. I really like a full flat grind. That's just me. That's one of my favorite grinds is just a full flat grind. I think that I get along really good with that. That's up to you guys what you like. Look, we got some people here. People from Virginia, people from other places. I'll say hello to everybody. Guys are talking in the chat room. That's cool. So the knives you have, what are your favorite knives? Put that in the chat room. I'd like to see what you guys have for your favorite knives. There's a lot of knife companies out there. There really are nowadays. There's a lot of good knife companies. What I see, and Knives I Guess is the name of a guy's YouTube channel. Knives I Guess. Very intelligent man. I like his views and his opinions. He cuts up a lot of cardboard, and what he does is he uses the edges. He cuts the cardboard and uses that until the knife is trash. And he'll start out with the knife and check it from the factory, how it is, how it's set up, how sharp it is. And yes, he has the little tool that tells you how sharp it is. And he will cut up cardboard until that knife starts to really fail and rip and tear cardboard. And then he'll resharpen it, and they'll go from there to see how well it holds an edge, how well it keeps up, how well it slices and cuts. What we find, or what he has found, and I watch him quite a bit, is that the heat treat is bad on a lot of knives. Nowadays, heat treat is a problem for a lot of people. So getting a good company that has good heat treat, Condor Knives is good, SE Knives is good, Spyderco knives are very good. I have somewhere, and I'm probably one of the only people in the world that likes it, I have a Kershaw Chill. A lot of people don't like Kershaws. I have a Kershaw Chill that I like a whole lot. That was given to me by my daughter, and it does not have a problem. I do not have a problem sharpening that knife. I do not have a problem cutting with that knife. It's a thinner blade. Works good in the pocket when I'm dressed going out different places. It's a folding knife. My daughter bought it, and she bought me one and bought herself one, my youngest daughter. And so we would have matching knives back in the day. So when I was younger, her and Daddy had matching knives. And that was great. Oh, when should kids have knives? I've been asked that question a few times. When should you give your kid a knife? Well, I can't answer that because I don't know your kid. The answer is when they're responsible enough. When you as the parent feel that they are responsible enough to have a knife. Do I say 8, 9? I don't know. I know some adults I shouldn't give a knife to, honestly. And you probably know a few too. You wouldn't trust that adult with a knife. Really? They'd probably cut themselves, and let alone somebody else. Yes. So knives, what do you guys like out there? What's a knife that you guys normally carry? What's your normal carry knife? I usually carry a folding knife. Like I said, I usually carry these two knives at work. Is where I hang out most of the day. I call it work. I don't really work, but I call it work. And I'm not getting paid, so I shouldn't call it. Well, I do get paid a little, but it's not like I'm working for a job. I'm not underneath there normally turning the handles. I will help with a transmission or will help pull an engine and stuff like that, but I'm not usually the one changing spark plugs. So I will run and get the parts. I will help out around the shop, things like that. And I get paid, and they buy lunch and they do other stuff. So I'm retired and I'm just hanging at the shop, really. So these knives work for me while I'm there. If I'm out walking around on the town, and I'm going to go grab another knife that I have. Let's make it 3. Let's make it 3 knives. I'm going to grab these other 3 knives. All 3 of these knives are cold steel knives. Hey, yo, let's see. Where are you, home? Yeah, passing through, and you're talking about knives. I'm a knife maker out of Chicago. I am in northern Kentucky, and that's where I live. And I'll just leave it at that right now. But yeah, so years ago, with cold steel, I tried to get them to make a cold steel bow, and I tried to get to make them. They have a staff, but they wouldn't make the staff that I had because they didn't want to go through the injection molding. And I talked to them. And you are a knife maker. I actually gave this to Dan Collins, and Dan Collins took this antique knife and traced it out and was thinking about making battle horse knife. Was actually talking when Dan was still there doing all the stuff. He was going to think about making a battle horse knife somewhat like this blade. This is an antique blade that I picked up for a few dollars and I took out there and they cleaned up because I did quite a bit with battle horse knives. So my interaction with everybody at Cold Steel years ago, and I'm going back quite a few years ago now, I have quite a few Cold Steel blades because I really like Cold Steel. Did a lot with the Fat Man. Had a good time talking to everybody. No, I don't know Stick. He's too new for me. I don't know Stick. I don't know a couple of the other guys. But in the old videos, I dealt with him. I actually have, I don't know if I have it back over here or not. I have a Gurkha kukri. I have the original Gurkha kukri that Cold Steel doesn't even sell anymore. I have that. So now I'll show you these knives, and then I have a special blade that I have hidden over here on the other side of the bed over here. And I'm actually lounging on my bed talking to you all because I'm lazy. And at 60 years old, I'm allowed to do this. One of my favorite knives for personal carry and protection is this little knife from Cold Steel. And this one is the Counterattack 2. I don't have a Counterattack 1, I have a Counterattack 2. And I'll tell you why. Handle's not too short. I would like it a little bit bigger. And I like that short blade. Why do I like the short blade? Well, when I carry this knife in the front of my belt. Think of by your stomach. That way I can pull this knife this way, okay, out of the sheath, and I can pull this knife this way out of the sheath. And this knife to me is a get off me knife. Okay. So if they grab me from behind or something like that, I can go, get off me, 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 or get off me, that kind of deal. And it's not too long so that if somebody's got their arm wrapped around me and I stab into their arm, I'm not going to stab into my own stomach by stabbing them. Think about that. I stab into their arm and they got their arm around me. I'm not going to stab into my own belly. If I were carrying, and I do like this knife. This was bought, my daughter bought this for me. One of my daughters bought this for me. This is their larger Recon Tanto. And this one is not Sandmeyer and that stuff. This is just regular, what's the word I'm looking for? This is the regular high carbon steel one. This is too long. I'd stab right in through them and into me. Okay, honestly, I'd stab right through them into me. And I'm not looking to carry this thing around. This would go in a bag, in a pack, or whatever. Now, I do quite often, when I'm not at work, I carry this. And this is my Cold Steel Tie-Lite 6-inch. My friend over at the garage has a Tie-Lite 4-inch. I like the 6-inch. This has actually gotten me out of trouble twice. Once in an alley and once over at the shop. Somebody comes in, runs their mouth, does whatever, and gets stupid at you. When you go with a 6-inch blade, they back up. So in the alley, when he talked about kicking this old man's butt and taking the little bit of groceries I had in my hand from me, and I whipped this out, he turned around and went the other way. Then a guy talked about coming over and shooting everybody, going out to the car, getting a gun, coming back, shooting everybody in the garage. And I said, who said you'd make it out of the garage? You might want to rethink this because we're also armed. And we were. But this stopped him before he got out of the garage. I said, you threaten us, we're going to have a problem. Now, who said you'd make it out of the garage? You're going to go get your gun? Well, don't tell me you're going to go get your gun, because I'm not going to let you get to go get your gun, right? So I didn't have to flash the gun. I just pulled this out. And that little It's very satisfying. Now, this knife is really cool because the way it's made to open it has these little teeth right here, or jimping, as we call it. And it's actually made, it's the Lord's carry, as my friends would say, with a tip up. Okay. Why do I like tip up in the carry? Because you open it, right? When you pull it out, you can open it with your hand. But this jimping on this blade is meant to catch the corner of your jean pocket. That is what it's made for. That jimping right there is meant to catch the corner on your jean pocket. And as you pull this blade out and it comes out of your pocket, it catches and opens. This is actually faster than a switchblade when you pull it out of your pocket. So that is pretty cool. But this is one of my daily carries when I'm not at work. So Saturday, Sunday, days I don't go in, things like that. This is the one I have in my pocket. Not that I'm a big knife fighter, not that I'm the man or any of that bullshit. And yes, I like a 38 stub nose revolver. That's one of my favorites. Why? Because I can jam it into you and pull the trigger. I don't have to worry about, jacking it back or any of that stuff that if I get in there and I push it into you too far, it won't fire. 38 stub nose will fire every time. So, and most gunfights are up close. But blades are always work. Just like a 12 gauge shotgun, everybody knows what that noise is, right? Everybody knows that noise, whether it's that one or a different blade. Everybody knows that noise. And that little noise, a lot of times is enough to just, stop somebody if they're being stupid. So you need to think about that. Now, let's not get into self-defense and all that good stuff. Most of the blades I carry, 99.9% of the stuff that I do. And yes, I can do with this knife, even though that knife is normally only carried for walking around town, by myself. When I'm with my wife, I usually carry the gun. But I'm hard-headed, so I don't always carry it. This is one of my favorite blades. This little $25 razor knife does everything most of the time. And like I said, unless there's a hose or something that I really don't want to cut I don't know, maybe it's just me, but some of the hoses on the cars are pretty heavy duty and I don't want to dull the razor knife going through that. So I'll use the cheapo Walmart knife to cut through, come home, slide it a couple of times up and down the rods. I'm back to shaving sharp. Every knife I carry, I believe, and it's my opinion, I don't know about the rest of you all, every knife I carry, I should be able to shave with it. It should shave hairs off my arms. That is my personal standard on knives. I don't like a knife that is not shaving sharp, whether it's my kitchen knives, my survival knives, my EDC knives, my whatever. I prefer a knife. And if this razor won't shave, it gets replaced. Simple as that. If I can't shave the hair on my arm, it gets replaced. If this one won't shave, I'll bring it home and touch it up and go from there. So I know that all these knives right now, every knife I own, right there, should shave. Simple as that. Every knife should be able to do that. If that knife won't do that, I have no use for that knife that day. If that knife won't shave, I have no use for that knife that day. That's just my standard on knives. Some people don't sharpen their knives to that sharp. Some people don't carry their blades that sharp, and I don't know why. There's so many different sharpening options out there nowadays for knives. I feel that you should be able to sharpen a knife, even if you've never sharpened a knife. There are options out there. Like I said, the V-rods are some of the cheapest, easiest way to sharpen a knife. I think sometimes you can order V-rods online for $8. 2 ceramic rods and a piece of wood, And all you have to do, if that ceramic rod is at an angle, is put the knife blade on there correctly. And I'm going to use the back of the knife here to demonstrate that. But you put that rod on that knife on that rod, and all you got to do is slide, you pull it toward you. As you cut, try and cut that rod and slide down it, and it will sharpen that edge of that knife, usually at a 17-degree angle, which is a wonderful angle, 17 degrees. I like those sharp. So some of the other knives, I don't have them here in front of me. Spyderco's, wonderful, wonderful knives. LT Wright knives are wonderful knives. My brother Giuliano down in Brazil, they have some Brazilian knives down there. The gentleman that was from Finland, Finnish knives are just works of art. They're beautiful knives. They're great knives. The Opinel, I think everybody should own an Opinel. I mean, $18 for an Opinel. I mean, come on. It's a wonderful knife. It locks open. You can twist it around. It locks open, unlock, just twist it the other way. It's a wood handle. It's been around for centuries. It is just an elegant knife. They have different ones out now. They even have some that have plastic handles instead of wood. I think that they are great knives to use. I like to collect knives. I also collect spears. I like the blades, just something I'm into. A lot of guys are into guns, into cars, and other stuff like that. I prefer blades. I prefer knives. I prefer spears. I have a few axes, different things. But knives are just an everyday tool. And I really don't understand how you'd get through life without using a knife. Whether it be a razor knife with just the blades that snap off, to, you live somewhere where you needed a machete every day. And like South America, it's a blade is just, it's probably one of the first, well, I guess it'd be the second tool, because a stick was probably the first tool that a man used, but a blade is probably the second tool, whether it be a sharp piece of flint or whatever. And I actually know a guy who cut up a 6-foot mountain lion with a piece of flint. Mike Parker, our buddy Mike Parker, built a bow and chose chert and flint and built the bow by only scraping with chert and flint. A knife of some type, whether it be a broken piece of glass, a bent piece of metal, an actual knife that you have made. The old railroad spike knives, not the greatest knife in the world, but it works. Having something to cut with, having something to butcher animals, cut material, slice and dice and do whatever, not just as a weapon, but as a functional tool, is one of the fundamental things that I think we as a society all have. Everybody has a knife. You have knives in your kitchen. You have knives elsewhere. You have knives you carry, knives you may not carry. You have a pair of scissors. That's just two knives sliding next to each other. I mean, that's what it really is. So a knife, I don't know why people get upset. I mean, even this, it's like, what, 3.5, 4-inch blade? You pull that out, oh my God, he's got a knife. All men, now I'm going to be 60 in February. It used to be that all men carried a knife and a lighter. And I still carry a knife and a lighter. One was to light women's cigarettes. The other one was to cut, strings and cords and open packages. And, we used to have butcher paper wrapped around with a string on our food and other stuff, and you had to cut that open. They wrap everything up back in the old days, and they put string around it, and you carried that knife to cut in and get all your packages. That is less prevalent nowadays, but now we have tape and boxes. by God, some of that tape you have to cut through. You can't rip it. That is some terrible stuff. Hell, I've had food packages I've had to cut into. I couldn't tear open. Maybe because I'm getting old and weak, but having a pair of scissors or a knife with me is just a mandatory thing nowadays. I don't know how you guys feel on that, but I'd like to know. Make a comment. I hope you're all doing wonderful. I hope you're all doing great. So some of my knife ideas, some of my knife things I wanted to show you. I keep many different knives in many different bags. So I have like a Rat 3 in a bag. I have a Rat 4 in a bag. I have an SOG in a bag. I have an SOG money clip in a different bag. I have Opinels in 3 different bags, 3 different Opinels in 3 different bags. My wife has these knives. She has different knives that she likes better than mine. She likes a Wharncliffe blade a whole lot more than I do, but I can see the extent for the Wharncliffe blade. So a Wharncliffe blade, I do not have one here in front of me. A Wharncliffe blade is straight all the way across and does not curve. Reason being for a curve on a lot of different knives. Let's use like a cavalry sword for an example. Curve. It curves to stay in the cut longer, right? That's why it curves. So when you swing, you're making a big curve with your arm. When you swing the sword and you make that cut, you're actually, whatever you hit, that sword and your swing goes around, and it's much more prevalent on a cavalry sword. It stays in the cut longer. A Wharncliffe being flat all the way across the back, and I'll use this for an example because it's flat here across the back. You get the same amount of cut here. Well, I guess this is a Wharncliffe, isn't it? If I think of it, this is a Wharncliffe blade. So you get the same amount of cut pressure here as you do out here. So whenever you hit something and cut with it, whether you cut here or cut here, you're getting the same amount of oomph to it. So that is a Wharncliffe blade, if I think about it. Yes, it is. So you get that same amount of power in that Wharncliffe blade all the way out to the end, and it doesn't curve off like this blade would, where I'd get a lot of power here and then probably have less power out here on the end as it cuts through and slides out. See what I'm saying? So this one won't stay in the cut as long because it's going to come to that end at some point and pop out. Whereas this one, especially with a more curved blade, such as a kukri with a big sweep at the end, or a skinning blade, think about that. It will stay in a cut longer, but it will swing out. It will stay in there because it goes with the natural curve of the body going around. Let's see here. I'm 62 and in England. Very good, very good. And I understand there's different knife laws in England. I really like those knives I like the looks of them. I don't have one, but I like the looks of the knife that's got that metal piece that sticks out. So when you fold it over and you grab hold of it, that locks it into your hand for a lock over there. In England, they have different rules than we do. And if you don't know about that, you might want to check English laws on knives. Pretty cool stuff. I live in England. Most of us kids carried a knife to school to sharpen pencils or play splits. There you go. And there was never one instance where someone threatened someone else with it. I understand that. It's a great point. Back in the day, when I was young here in the United States, we carried knives at school. We even took our guns in for show and tell. And it was not uncommon here in Kentucky and other places where we have large deer. And we would go out for deer season, and you would come in with your gun, and you would open the bolt up on the gun and leave it open, tuck it into the principal's office and give it to the principal. At the end of the day, the principal would give you back your gun. And of course, some of us smelled like deer pee from taking, putting deer piss on us to mask our smell. for our boots and stuff like that. But that was not an uncommon thing back in the day, because only the bad guys fought with the knives, and only the bad guys had the guns, except for the police officers that had guns, of course. But I mean, it was uh, not a thing. Most police officers used their billy clubs more than they did their guns back in the day. Um, yes, I know all about sharpening pencils. If you're a carpenter, you probably carry a knife to sharpen your pencil. That's a trade today that still does those kind of things. Um, it it's different nowadays than it was when we were younger. It's different nowadays. A lot of stuff is done on their phone. They don't do a lot of hands-on things. They get stuff delivered to a mailroom, and by the time it gets upstairs to you, it's already unpacked. It wasn't like when they brought it to you in a package, or you had to unwrap your food. You go and get your fish or your meat or whatever, and they wrap it up and they tie it with a string. And that even happened with some of your clothing and some of your other things in the store. They would put them in a box, maybe tie the box shut, put it in just so you didn't have to worry about it. And you had a way to carry it. You carry it by the string, carry it by a strap. Um, Things they don't do anymore that we used to. And but a knife is in every house. Every house has a knife. I have not seen any place in the world where not everybody has a house has a knife. And a lot of times in other countries, um, what we would consider here in the United States, we have been known to call them third world countries. You get a knife from your father, and that's the only knife you have for the rest of your life. I have seen 9-year-old kids picking their teeth and toes with a machete, and that's probably the only blade they're going to get. And they can do everything from skinning a fish to cutting down a tree and everything else with that machete. And they have done so much. They take splinters out of their hands with a machete. That's the only blade they have. And that's what it comes down to. Other places, other countries, the same knife they carry on their hip is the same knife they eat with. Now, when I eat with my knife, I like to use honey because it keeps the peas from rolling off. I like my peas with honey. I've done it all my life. It makes them taste kind of funny, but it keeps them on the knife. Something to think about. So, while you guys are out there talking knives and all that good stuff, I'm going to get out of here. It's been almost an hour. Knife chatting, knife talking, my opinions, my thoughts, why I use what I use, why I like what I like. Hear more from you all, things you'd like, greatest knives you have, greatest knife you think you or think, or there we go on here. The knife you think is the greatest. I'd like to hear that. What knife do you just absolutely love? What knife would you not want to be without? And is that your normal carry knife? Remember Willie Wells' greatest wisdom. My friend Willie Wells from Louisiana. The knife you have on you at the moment of survival becomes your survival knife. And any knife that you have on you beats using your finger. 2 great words of wisdom from Willie Wells. So now, or should I say sayings of wisdom? 2 great sayings of wisdom from Willie Wells. That's it, yeah. Well, whether it be an inexpensive knife that just works and you're not worried about breaking, to a very expensive knife that you're afraid, you would tear up and you want to keep, to the only knife, if you had only one knife and you had to survive, and whatever knife you would put up and use for whatever. Now, here's the problem with some knives. And you think about this. This is why I carry different knives, and I carry multiple knives. This knife is a really good knife. This knife right here, SE6, really great knife. Cut wood? Yes. Cut string? Yes. Process food? Yes. Do everything wonderful? No. This is not going to work really great on on fish or small birds. Will it carve a turkey? Yeah. Will it cut up a trout? Yeah. Not going to do it great. Not going to do it wonderful. Have a smaller knife. Going to do a lot better on the trout and the birds and the other stuff. So that's why I carry multiple blades. The other knife that I would carry survival-wise is actually a battle horse knife that I've had for years that I helped with. I took the handle from one knife and the blade from another knife. We put them together and made the neck that I carry that I'll show on a different video. And it's just a 2.5-inch blade. I don't need any more. I'm not a huge blade fan. If I only had one knife, yes, I'd want a bigger knife for things that I would do. If I lived in a different part of the world or I was outdoors, I'd want a bigger blade for doing processing wood and things like that, making notches, cutting down trees, doing all that stuff that I would have to do to make a place to live and survive and stuff. And like I said, when I carry this, I carry a saw and I carry knives. So usually at least 2 knives on me at all times. That is my philosophy. Reason I use this, once again, is because I do not trust myself swinging an axe at my age and with my physical abilities, whereas this will split wood, cut down small trees, and do other stuff. So I can always have one of the younger guys go and cut the tree down and bring me back stuff, and I can chop it up and do other things. So that's just my opinion on it. And if the tree is too big for me to chop down with this, I don't need to be chopping it down. I'm probably not going to be able to carry it anyway because I'm old. And so, not that I want to have to necessarily cut down a tree with this, but, you know, it all depends on where you're at, what you're doing, your skill level. Those are things. Work on your skills. Work on your knife skills. Take that small blade and prepare some dinner with it. Practice with it. Take that big blade. Prepare dinner. Now, I said that big blade will carve a turkey because I've carved a turkey with it. Do I want to have to cut up a ham or a turkey with this? No. Would it do it? Yes. Do I want to do it? No. But it will. I know it will because I've used it for other things. I've used a piece of bone, a knife, a rib bone that I have taken and sharpened on a small rock. And I have made videos where I cut up lunch meat and I cut up carrots. Carrots are probably one of the harder vegetables to think of, but I can slice up carrots with that piece of bone. So I know it will cut meat. I know it will cut fruit. And I know it will cut flesh. So those are things to think of. Practice. Practice with your big knives. So you got a survival knife. Well, when's the last time you cut stuff up with it? See, I'd rather slice things with this knife than I would with this knife, all because of the thickness of the blade. This will slice much better than this will. Are they both shaving sharp? Yes. But how thick is this blade from here to here, from cutting edge to the top of the knife, which is actually upside down, but the top of the knife. So as the knife cuts through, it has to cut through more stuff and wedge it out that way. The thicker the blade, the bigger the cut. That's why at the beginning I said I like the SE6 over the SE5, which I feel is a sharpened pry bar. Yes, it will do a lot more than the SE6 will because it is heavier built. But I can still drive nails with this. I can still do other things that I may have to do, or push a peg in, cut things. Basically, you're asking a knife, when you think of a one-blade survival, you're asking a knife to do things that a knife's not designed to do. What is a knife designed to do? A knife is not designed originally, a knife is not meant to cut wood, unless it's a wood cutting knife, and then you're talking a whole different ballgame. The way they're made, their steel, and the way they're ground is different than the way this knife is done. So woodworking tools, take a look at those compared to your regular survival knife, and you'll learn some stuff. Whittling blade is different than this paring knife, as I like to call it, which is different than this knife. A whittling blade is different. So things to think about. what are you asking your knife to do? What job are you asking that knife to perform will depend on that knife. If it's just a cut, if it's just a cut, do you really need more than that, just a cut? No, not really. Or any of these knives, just a cut. When you're asking it to do other things like chop wood, drive pegs, uh, you know, field dress animals, it depends on what you're asking that knife to do. A lot of guys do not, and professional guides and whatnot, don't carry a knife like yay. They actually have butchering blades and skinning knives and other stuff to cut up those animals that they have. They have multiple knives on them. They're not asking one knife to do everything. So something to think about, something to check into. I'd like to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your comments, all that good stuff. Hey, I'm Rich with Around the Cabin, and I will catch up with you all later. Have a great day.